Have you ever bought a board game when your spouse said no? Have you ever won a game on an insane dice roll? Have you ever killed a dragon using only chopsticks? Have you ever paid an elf to watch your kids? Can you roll the dice while eating 3 Hot Pockets at the same time? Can you ride a panda across the plains of Doo-Dee-Dooey? Can you stop an evil wizard from destroying your village? Can you summon a creature to do your chores? Can you muster the strength to carry a group to victory? Can you be the chosen one all the way up to bedtime? Have you ever dared to say no and betray your alliance? Have you ever accused a friend of being a traitor when it was you all along? Well, we haven't done most of those things either, but we are willing to try. Join us as we explore the world of board gaming and all the crazy things that come with it. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast.
Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast, a podcast about board games and other tabletop games. With me tonight are Matt, Rob,
hey,
and a special guest tonight is David.
Hello everyone, I'm Dave, better known as Zanetrix on Twitch.tv. I stream only board games, primarily through Tabletop Simulator. I've logged over 400 hours, and for a $15 purchase, I'd say it was a very good deal.
Nice. So,
when you put it like that, I mean...
Awesome. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm okay.
Doing good. I know you're doing good, but your voice doesn't sound like it. It's like you've been yelling at a lot of people or something like that.
Yeah, it's like I've been trying to teach rules at a game day that lasted like all day long.
Welcome to Epic Yelling Night as he teaches the rules.
Nice.
What time did the last person leave?
Well, Dustin spent the night, so I don't know if that counts. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say I think me and AJ left around 11:30 midnight, somewhere in that area.
It was after midnight, I'm pretty sure.
We just sat there and we're just talking about role playing games for quite a while.
But yeah, we stream the podcast every Tuesday at 9 p.m. if you want to catch us live on Twitch. And we also play board games on Friday nights, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's www.twitch.tv/Epic Gaming Night. So make sure to check us out there.
Awesome. And you can find my stream at twitch.tv/Zanetrix. The name will be there for the YouTubers. I'm sure it'll be in the description. And for the live studio audience, I can also drop that right in the chat. My channel is dedicated to board gaming and just creating a community where gamers new and old can just explore this golden age. I teach and bring in the viewers to play lots of famous, not so famous games. We got like Pandemic, The Cure, Castlevania the board game. Yes, it's a real thing. And
Nice.
Eldritch Horror and more.
Nice. But yeah, Dave's going to be here to talk about Tabletop Simulator. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about the games that we've been playing recently. So, Rob, do you want to start us off?
I will start us off, and I've totally got a bone to pick with you, and it's not so much you, but it's your dad, who I hope is watching this. So, went to Roy's for this weekend birthday bash, and we played some games. And your dad's a good gamer. He really is a good gamer. And I was like to give him a hard time. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to make it my mission just to kill your dad in Cash and Guns. We played Cash and Guns. It's a fun, easy party game. I was joking, and your dad doesn't necessarily, he doesn't know me yet, but every single round your dad pointed at me with the gun. And if you guys have never played Cash and Guns before, you get these... fake-looking guns. They got the orange tips, are made out of foam, and you get a character, and you're all going on heists to steal, art or diamonds or money. And if you get pointed at, you have a chance to duck the bullet, but you don't get to get any art. Or if you don't duck and you don't get shot, then you do get to stay in and get art. Your gun comes with either a click or a bang. Well, your dad, Roy, had the special ability where he could take a random card from somebody, at the very beginning of a turn. And he was very lucky on picking a lot of bangs. So when everyone else starts off with 5 clicks and 3 bangs, your dad, I think, shot 6 out of the 8 rounds.
That's amazing.
Jeez.
And all of them were pointed at me. It was really ridiculous. And like, we had fun. We had a great time. And nothing against your dad. He really is a great guy. I really enjoyed myself. But like, I will never make any statement like that around your dad ever again.
I was about to say, I guess you didn't live through the game, did you?
No. And
Nice.
at the end, I knew he was going to shoot me because my last card was a bang, and I was saving it for your dad, actually. And he knew it was a bang, and so he took it from me. And he gave me a click. And then he shot me, and I'm just going to stay in. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I was humiliated.
Next week's topic, metagaming.
Yeah, the best part about that game is like the looks you get from people that like we played it at a bar once, and we're just like standing outside the bar, like pointing these like foam guns at each other, and just people walking by were just like, "What's going on? Like, this is crazy." So
well, and AJ played completely random. Like, he would just shuffle up his cards and then throw down a card, and whatever it was. But anytime anybody asked him to repoint his gun, he pointed it at me. And so,
how did you make so many enemies, man?
That's what he does, though. He just picks one person, and he's like, "I'm gonna murder you," and that's his game plan.
So between AJ and Roy's dad, I didn't stand a chance.
And Rob is just one letter away. I think I can do it this way.
Nice.
So I've played other games, but that's the big one that I'll get into today. So
nice. Matt, do you want to go into what you've been playing?
Man, no, we played a lot of stuff, but I think the thing that like I was like just most kind of blown away by is we played Dixit, and I'd never played Dixit before, and I knew what it was, but I just didn't realize just how like fun it was. Like I think we ended up playing like 2 rounds, maybe, I don't know, and it was just like I was just like, we can do this again. We can just keep playing this. I mean, we already know what the cards are, but we can just keep playing. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yes, please, let's do this.
Yeah, Dixit is definitely one of my wife's like favorite board games. So like it reaches out to like all sorts of people. Like it's a great party game.
It really is in the artwork on the cards.
Yeah, and it's like I just liked it was like you could easily kind of hop in or hop out. Like it didn't. You're not necessarily supposed to, but it's not. You're not penalized for doing so.
How exactly does the game work?
So, I mean, essentially, at Dixit, everybody has a hand of 6 cards, and each of these cards, there's like a kind of detailed painting on it. And whenever it's your turn, you play a card face down, and then you say a short sentence or a sound or however you want to describe it, but you do it in a way that's going to be obvious to some, but not so much to others. And you score points based on how many people guess it, or how many people don't guess it. And then the other people, they get to pick a card out of their hand that they feel best describes it. And then at the end, everybody votes on whose card they think is yours, and then points are assigned at the end based on who chose what.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the art in the game is just like ridiculous. That's one of the things that like sets the game apart is like the whole game is just these pieces of art, and then you're trying to like figure out how to do like inside things or some things that some people will get and other people won't. So
and the art is so intricate, so you're able to get like the littlest things and you'd be like, that's what you were going for when you're actually put that card out? Really? And you know, but that's the beautiful thing, why you can even have the same deck and go back to it, you know, with group after group after group, because someone will see something different.
Yeah.
Every time.
So Dave.
Yes.
So what have you been playing?
I've been playing Spectre Ops by Plaid Games. Yes, it's the bleeding edge of games right now on Tabletop Simulator, interestingly enough. I know when the first pre-orders were starting to hit board gamers' hands, I was able to play over the course of a couple weeks 4 amazing games, streamed live on Twitch. Now, Spectre Ops is a 2 to 5 player game where you have 2 sides and it's asymmetrical play. And if you're familiar with Letters from Whitechapel, you actually have, as the secret agent, hidden movement tracked on by these sheets. And the cool thing is, and I'll kind of sneak in a little bit about Tabletop Simulator, what I'm able to do with Twitch. So, watching a bunch of guys play poker, let's say back in those Old West movies, pretty dry and boring. But now, when you're able to now get cameras and technology to sneak a peek under the cards, now it's a compelling, dramatic game, right? Well, I was able to do the same thing with Spectre Ops, where I got to share with my stream my live turn order movement and share this document with them, so they knew what was going on. And yet all the hunters had to go on with it was the board in front of them and their communication back and forth to each other. So the spy is trying to sneak around in 40 turns or less to 3 objectives hidden around the map. The hunters have all these cool special powers and they never run dry. And they get to use these powers to try to track down that spy, just be able to see him just for a brief moment, and then track him down and punch his lights out. So far, I'm 4-0 as a secret agent because for some reason all the viewers really want to kill me.
Nice.
But honestly, it is absolutely awesome. I would say it's best at 3 players because at that point you have one agent, and if you like your Metal Gear, so you video gamers out there, your Metal Gear or Splinter Cell, and you want that tension of only having like the bare couple pieces of expendable equipment and yourself and no one else to rely on while you're being hounded by forces, that is what it is in a box.
That's nice.
Spectre Ops.
Yeah, we just played Letters from Whitechapel the other day, but Rob just recently got Spectre Ops, like his copy, and I keep trying to get him to bring it over so we can play it, man.
I don't want to break it out because I got spoiled. Long story short, Colby was signing the Summoner War Alliances when he was sending those out for pre-order. So I just sent Plaid had an email. I said, hey, I would not be upset if you guys signed my copy of Spectre Ops. And I think David at the office was kind of like, we're really busy. There's thousands of these going out. Thank you very much. Don't count on it. Well, I got my copy in, and everybody at the office signed it. It's got 8 different signatures. So I'm super pumped. Love the company. And I was always a fan before, but now I'm just going to buy whatever they put out just because of that. But anyway, it's just so pretty. It's just like it's signed. I want to play it, but I don't want to.
So you haven't opened it, or is it like signed on the shrink wrap, or what?
No. It's signed under the shrink wrap.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. No, I would hate that if it was just on top of the shrink wrap.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, it'd be like you'd be framing the shrink wrap.
Yeah.
But no, what is a game if it's not being played? I mean, if you're going to keep it as collector's value, you might as well just buy another copy of it. And I would understand if you would want to, too. If it's that,
well,
shiny
piece. I am that guy. I like cardboard. And so
cool.
I may end up, because in total I've bought 5 boards of Risk Legacy, and I've convinced other people to buy other boards, so I'll buy multiples. But we'll play it soon, Roy. I promise. We'll play soon.
Nice.
And maybe, Dave, we can play with you face to face
or
on
I
TTS.
Exactly, or I could just drag you guys into my stream and have you play one knockdown drag out game.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Awesome.
Awesome. So the game that I want to talk about is we got a chance to play Chaosmos. We got a few of the rules wrong, but Chaosmos is basically this game of intergalactic keep away where you're all trying to find this ovoid artifact and you're all moving from planet to planet trying to discover where it actually is. And there's 2 different ones. There's a regular one and there's a dark one. And you have to find this cipher that lets you know which one's the real one. And basically, when the game ends, if you have the card in your hand, then you win the game. So like there's this timer clicking down every single turn. It's also very interesting because every time you win an attack against another player, you get to just take a card out of their hand. So it's basically a whole bunch of attacking each other, stealing cards from each other's hand, trying to build up your attack so that you can attack and steal a card, and then also like setting up these traps and defenses on planets so that it kicks people away from where you've hidden your treasure and your attack cards and ultimately the ovoid that lets you win the game. It was definitely very interesting. I'm not sure like how balanced everything is in the game. I've only played it once. I definitely want to play it a couple more times. But the thing that like is so awesome about it is it reminds me a lot of like Cosmic Encounter. You know how they have all like the crazy aliens that look all weird? Like all the miniatures in the game are like these crazy weird looking aliens, not like your normal like everyday guys. This guy's with a whole bunch of arms and like weird tentacles and all kinds of craziness going on. And completely different like special powers, which was really cool.
Would you buy
I caught your stream of that, and it looked like a crazy mix of Cosmic Encounter and with the vault system, which we were describing, where you got to snap open those cases to raid those suckers.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Sheriff of Nottingham kind of blended in, too.
Yeah, because it was a lot of fun, because like someone would be chasing me, knowing that I had the ovoid, and I'd be stopping at planets and looking at things and switching things in and out on the planet, because each planet has a little bit, like a little box that you put cards in. So, as you're going around from the planets, you can like switch stuff in and out when you explore the planets. So if people were chasing me down and were afraid of attacking me, they would think that I had like left stuff behind, or like maybe left the ovoid that I had behind, and so they'd be like checking every single place. So I was kind of delaying them catching up to me by making them falsely look at these planets. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely very keep away-ish, which I think is like how it works.
Would you add it to your collection?
I would probably want to play it again before deciding like whether I'd actually buy it. I'd have to see the price too, because I don't buy games every other day like some people. So, but yeah, it looks like it was definitely be a very fun game.
Awesome. I think then Spectre Ops will be right in your wheelhouse. The beautiful thing about having these recorded sheets is that I'm able to go over piece by piece. You know, the beautiful thing about a mystery, right, is how did you do this, right?
Yeah.
That little reveal at the end is like, okay, this is how it was done. You know, the whole clue effect, and I'm able to actually run through, and actually that forces me as a player to change my tactics up, being sneaky and everything, because I actually walk through with my entire stream, which are my future opponents too. You know, like, no, this is how I did it. I remember one time, so you only have 40 turns, right? At one point I was trying to really spoof this guy, and like they were hounding me. Like if I took one wrong step, I know they'd be on me and I would lose. So I stayed in place 5 turns in a row.
That's crazy.
I'm like, and I'd be like, okay. And this is like, you know, when you actually start, even in a virtual environment, I'm just like, okay. I knew I was going to stay still, but I'm just like, okay, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, if I move.
So you had to like talk out like you were moving around?
No, you would totally do social engineering for it. And sure enough, you know, they would come into like, and they started to get scared, more and more scared, because everyone can only move 4 spaces without using a special piece of equipment.
Nice.
And so everyone's kind of going, okay, 1 turn passes, I know you're within 4 of that space. 2 turns passes, okay, 8. 3 turns passes, 12. And everyone just started to be like, where are you?
That's
so
exactly
they'll run off.
That's exactly how it was like when we played Letters from Whitechapel. They're like, well, we know he started over here or he started over there, and like as the turns went on, they're just like, we don't know where he is. We don't know where he is at all.
God, that round was sad. That round was so sad.
and the thing about Letters from Whitechapel too is you're not allowed to stay still. If you ever aren't able to move, you lose the game. So basically, one of the strategies that the police officers in that game can do is like actually like corner you in to try to make it so that you can't move. So it's kind of interesting. It's definitely more puzzly, where I feel like Spectre Ops is more like action adventure, like you were saying, because it's got like a bunch of like special items you can use and do all sorts of crazy things, like throw in smoke bombs and flash grenades and using weapons, because you actually attack the player to beat them, right?
That's right. And on top of that, like the hunters, they
Correct.
crazy powers. Like one of the powers is the prophet, and he can, if he stays still for 1 turn, he can actually force the agent to tell you where the agent was 2 turns ago, the exact coordinate. He can mind read you. And so, like, you know, depending on what agent, hunters are after you, it can be wildly different.
That's awesome.
I love it. I actually got a question, Rob. So, did you actually take the shrink off of your Spectre Ops yet?
Oh yeah, I've taken the shrink off. I've rubbed the board. I smelled it. I touched all the figurines. Like, yeah. I mean,
well, I was thinking, because if the cover is what was written on underneath, right? Was it the board or the cover, or the box?
No, they wrote on the box.
Well, then what you can do is just like take just the top of the box off, you know, and set that aside, get a new copy in, play with that one, and then just replace the new copy that you get in with it, and then you guys can play.
I mean, we will play, and we'll play soon.
Once he takes it out of his bed and finishes cuddling with it, he'll be able to...
I'll totally
it's
tell you
like
it's selfish. I want to see this on your stream.
Somebody else touching my baby. That's just... It's not fair. Just like my Dead of Winter, I also have that signed by the Plaid Hat guys. And I've got Kodiak Kobe, and I do get mad whenever somebody else chooses Kodiak Kobe. I'm like, that's my card. You can't play it. That's my guy. Like, you can't do that. That's not fair.
That's like, exactly who I had when we played.
Nice.
I know, and I don't know if you noticed, but I gave you a couple of looks like, you better not kill him. You better not lose Kodiak Kobe.
He wasn't trying to kill him because he was the betrayer.
No, I had to get all the people, and you guys had all the people, and I was like, no.
We'll play, but the good thing about like Roy and myself is between us, we have over 200 plus games, and so there's so many games to play. But I do buy them to play them, so I eventually will play it. It's just we're playing all these other games, but it'll come out sooner than later.
Yeah, I
That's
definitely,
for choice.
I definitely don't collect games like at all. Like I'm trying to play every single one of my games this year, and like the ones that I don't play or aren't actually interested in playing, like I'm trying to like get rid of them. So like I don't have games to collect them or get specific ones. So I'm like the opposite of that. It's like these have a use and they're gonna be played. So, and I'm over halfway through playing all of them, so pretty excited about that.
Nice. Let the adventure continue.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, cool. So I guess if we want to just go ahead and get into our topic today,
Yeah.
which is Tabletop Simulator. So our first question on the docket is, what is Tabletop Simulator?
Well, if we're going by the textbook answer, and I quote, Tabletop Simulator is a virtual gaming environment that allows 1 to 8 players to play all sorts of tabletop games, from role-playing environments to recreations of your favorite board games, just like the ones you see. Let's throw that textbook away. Tabletop Simulator is an exciting piece of technology. It can provide us with new and interesting ways of experiencing and sharing our favorite games with our friends and even the entire world. My goal tonight is to show you how I've been leveraging Tabletop Simulator, kind of like I did with Spectre Ops right there. And with your questions and feedback, I'm sure it'll go a long way in doing just that.
Awesome. So I've played a little bit of Tabletop Simulator. I think I've played I know we played like Lost Legacy on it, and I tried to play a few other ones, but like I just have like a really lame laptop, so I wasn't able to like play a lot of the bigger games and stuff like that, or just I didn't take enough time to load them. But I think Matt's played a lot more stuff. What's your experience with Tabletop Simulator so far, Matt?
I mean, it's a lot of fun. So I don't have nearly the same amount of hours as Dave does. I've only got 50 in it, so roughly roughly a tenth. But I mean, yeah, it's like a lot of fun. So like I initially bought it for me and a small circle of friends just to kind of play Cards Against Humanity on, because I was like, yeah, I like that game. It's fun. We can just do that. And I bought it like that, and then slowly I started looking at the workshop and realized, oh, holy crap, look at all the stuff that's on here. And then so you just download this or that, and then all the people that I knew were like, oh, okay, well, let's play this, let's play that. And then so now we end up playing like Battlestar Galactica and like Wiz War and like a bunch of other just crazy off the wall things that take probably a couple hours to get through. But
Well,
yeah.
to be fair, your experience actually mirrors the average person that has purchased Tabletop Simulator. What happened was, as a lot of internet goers do, they try to follow their favorite personalities either on Twitch or YouTube, and sure enough, some very popular YouTubers and Twitch goers have been playing Against Humanity and Battlestar Galactica. Funny enough, that is how I started my stream. I'm like, all I see are streams with Cards Against Humanity, and to be perfectly fair, they're not really being funny. And then on top of that, and when you have a personal experience, so I actually have played a number of games of that because my friend and his wife own a copy. Fair enough, cool. My friends are our thing, cool. That's just fine. But that's all that was being streamed. Otherwise, what people were doing was falling back onto what they were used to: the Unos, the Monopolies. I'll search for that. But you know what? I don't know about this whole golden age of board. I don't even know the term golden age of board gaming. I don't even know these games exist. And I'm like, well, you know what? You're kind of right. And I could complain about it. That's all I see on the streams, or maybe I'll do something about it. And actually, I started things off, and I'm putting a link into the chat. I started a master list of Tabletop Simulator board games. And and I got that on Reddit. I got it into Steam. And I went through all the different modules. At the time there was over 2,800 modules in the Steam Workshop. Now, granted, half of those might be like backgrounds or role-playing game environments, like as it was shown on that one other Dice Tower channel. They were tooling around on a simulated forest or castle. Woo.
Nice.
But I would say easily half my collection that you see behind me is in Tabletop Simulator right now. I'm
Yeah.
not hesitant to say that. And it's a matter of finding it and even knowing what the heck these games are. So
Yeah.
this sheet includes like names. I took some information off of Board Game Geek. Basically, I'm an accountant. So what do? I build a spreadsheet. But
Nice.
it contains links to rule books, the direct link to the module on the workshop. A small description of what it is. And I'm like, that's great, but I think we can do more. Because I can show you a list. You can show 7 wonders. I guess I kind of saw that in Target, but what does it look like? Why would I even try? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to hit a couple questions coming up that, will touch on some of these elements as we get into new and awesome and diverse audiences, too.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things probably about Tabletop Sim is the community who works on the Steam Workshop. Like, not only yourself, but all the other people out there who are like scanning the stuff in and making these mods and trying to set everything up so that people can play them. They're always very good and diligent about putting the rules somewhere in there, or at the very least giving you a link to the rules so you can pick up new stuff and learn it.
Bless them for it. I actually am a friend with a number of mod authors, actually kind of back way through the channel and the list. Like, hey, can you make sure that game's up there? Because there's with so many hundreds of games, I still have to do version 2 coming up in June and add another 100 games to the list. There's already 150 games. I personally vetted all the modules, and I would not hesitate to play them. And actually, a good number of them I haven't hesitated to play them on the stream. But like, I had one mod author. She's a wonderful soul, and she like has 1,165 hours because she puts in all that time and care into the
That's
module.
crazy.
She makes. Oh yeah.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for you, the average user, you don't need to worry about all that. You just click a button, hit subscribe, and boom, it'll pop into your tabletop simulator.
Now, does
Yeah.
she get paid, or do you get paid for doing this, or are you just kind of the kindness out of your heart helping out the community?
Oh, absolutely not getting paid. So, like, first off, the mod author. So, this is definitely a hot topic, regarding intellectual property. These are all fan initiatives. So I could actually go and grab my Pathfinder Adventure card game, start scanning the cards in, getting them in the template, and putting up there for my own private use, or get it on the workshop. There are copyright takedown notices. It happens, but the thing is, it's not like they rip it from you. If you have access to that module, you can have it. It's just basically frowned upon after a copyright has been levied against it. You do not distribute it, period. And, fair enough. It's like the publisher needs to defend their intellectual property or else, come future lawsuits and, they finally do get around to publishing it, like Sentinels the Multiverse, Candelabra Games, great company, and they finally get their digital game out. Well, of course they're going to ask to get that module taken down. But no, so that's why you can't charge it. Although, with the soon first version 1.0 release of Tabletop Simulator coming up for release candidate, they are actually going to feature a paid DLC for Super Fight. They actually worked with the developers for Super Fight and like, yeah, so it's just kind of make sure none of the impromptu modules by the users are on the workshop because we want people to pay for this.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that'll allow, like, maybe if other companies want to come on and make it so that people can actually sell and buy the specific things, and then there could be a wide variety of modules that you could pay for.
Absolutely. There are a number of games that I would prefer to play on Tabletop Simulator, like my deck, like deck building games, like you mentioned, Legendary Encounters,
Right.
Marvel Legendary. One of the things you have here, how does it impact the board gaming hobby, right?
Right.
Let's get to the bottom line. Us, gamers, right? Not as broadcasters, just gamers.
Yeah.
So Roy goes into actually putting together an epic gaming night.
Normally the decision of what game we're going to play takes a lot, and one of the big things of that is like, what's the setup time of the game, how many players do we have, and all that. A lot of times, like, if it's late in the night and someone's like, hey, let's play Marvel Legendary, I'm not as keen to be like, okay, well, I'm kind of tired, let me go ahead and get it all out. What heroes do you guys want to play with? No, that's a thing that I'll normally get out first thing and have it all like halfway set up or ready, because mixing all the decks together, setting up all the starting hands, picking all the stuff is a pretty big hassle.
Yep.
Exactly. And I can tell you, for a game of Legendary Encounters, I can start a scenario in under a minute.
Yeah, because you can even set it up to where if you have the mods saved the right way, you could just click the start and it'd be ready to go.
You touched on that exactly. And in fact, on the second tab of that spreadsheet, I actually started putting together some quality of life game saves. You know, like there are 4 different scenarios, all the different alien movies and legendary encounters. And all you need to do is download that, put in the saves, and only, what I really love about this? I'm sure you guys remember the days of LAN gaming, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Computer gaming, you had to make sure that everyone had not only the right copy, but they had have the right update. And if you're playing with any mods, everyone had the mod downloaded, right?
Yeah.
Well, what I love about Tabletop Simulator is that only the host needs it. Heck, they only need a save file, not even the module.
Right. That's awesome.
And just with that one file, then everyone will get to play that experience. So, I mean, the ease of use for it is just ridiculously good.
And they keep coming up with updates for it, and they come out with updates very frequently. So they've started kind of cutting down on the load times. So I know an issue I was having is there's one copy of Legendary in the Steam Workshop that has about 1,500 different cards, just in like fan-made ones, and then some regular ones, and then all the ones from like Legendary Encounters. And it's just all over the place with all these cards, and it takes like 2 minutes to load in, but now they're starting to cut that down. And then if you're doing that thing where you're making very specific save states for what you want to play, that cuts down on the time tremendously, because you don't have to load any of the stuff. It's already gone, so you just kind of load in. It's like 10 seconds, bam, you're good to go. So I mean, it's super super easy and straightforward to get into.
Yeah, there are only a few modules that are really PC heavy. In fact, even after a significant upgrade to my poor computer, which was been like 6 years in the making, I still have issue with like maybe one module, and that would be Caverna, for obvious reasons.
Nice.
Like when you hundreds and hundreds, nearly 1,000 components. Okay, I think something's going to give a little bit, even though it's a beautiful module.
Awesome. So, what games do y'all what games does, I know Dave is the main one. What games do you normally play on Tabletop Simulator? Like, what do you play most, like, on your stream, and what games are, like, easiest to get into, like, with different players?
So that was an interesting thing in trying to bring my love for the games that I like. And the beautiful thing is that I can play the games that I like. So it's not like I'm pigeonholed into a small selection of games. I can actually pull like some of my top 5 games of all time and put it onto the stream for everyone. They tend to focus, take everyone on kind of a gradient of different games. So first thing what I'd like to do usually is a cooperative game of some sort, like Pandemic the Cure or Sentinels of the Multiverse. And what I do is that I will play as multiple players or characters. And then what I do is allow basically a multiplayer lobby, and I start off by myself because, everyone might be filing into the channel. We're just starting up, and people are just getting their texts on their phones that I'm starting to stream. And the cool thing is, how this really clicks with the people is demos. I mean, think about it, guys. Like, how would you, like, let's say Spectre Ops, right?
Yeah.
How would you guys, either of you guys, get any opportunity to ever even just try, at least like for a round or two, Spectre Ops? What would you have to do?
Right now, if you were going to do that, you'd have to have gone to a convention. The Gamma Trade Show, I think, had one in New York. And then Origins is going on this week, so you'd have to be there unless you pre-ordered it. But according to what you said earlier, you had it at the same time. It'd be tough. I mean, I can definitely see the benefit of where you're going with this. Kind of play before you buy, kind of a thing.
Yes.
So.
Exactly. And, it's a very, one of the advantages and disadvantages to board gaming in general, guys, compared to video gaming is the fact that it's a very personal experience. It has a lot to do with the people playing the board games as much as the board games themselves. And so the other way would be maybe go to your friendly local game store, someone has a copy, and you watch them play. Well, that can be a little unnerving if you're not getting permission. And even if you do get permission, you're interacting with a whole new group of people. That can be pretty intimidating. And you might feel like you're on the hook for playing a whole game if you do get invited in. Right?
I am totally okay standing over random people awkwardly and just breathing hard, asking them random questions.
You are a very tall individual, though. You have a very intimidating presence about you.
Nice.
You might be fine, but what about them? They'll feel like Godzilla's bearing down on them, ready to take their head off.
But that is the advantage. Is like people usually answer my questions when I ask them. But anyway, I know what you're saying. I had to throw that in there.
No, and I'm glad you did. But that is speaks to it. I wanted to create a safe environment for people to try before they buy, and so by setting up that kind of environment and filter people through, and so my followers or viewers come in, they're like, that looks kind of interesting. But you know what? I'm kind of a kinesthetic learner. I learn by doing. I like if I play around, maybe I'll get it, and maybe it won't be for me. And that's the scary thing about random lobbies, of course. Just like World of Warcraft, right? You get in a random group, it could turn very sour very fast. So what people are able to do is kind of cop in, and I leave it open. Try around. If you don't like it and it's not for you, that's okay. You know why? Because we got all these games. You're not going to like all the games. Not all games are made for everyone, but I know there is for you, there is a game for you. And so you're able to kind of just hop on in. So cooperatives lend themselves better to that. But I don't hesitate to play the competitive games either. And for games with hidden information, like Spectre Ops, it could get pretty darn cool because then you got that layer of anonymity, and it's pretty interesting too because you don't get those visual cues. You start to realize that, wow, there's so much information I lose out by not seeing the person face to face. Or you can set up a Skype call like this so you can see their facial expressions and call them out on it.
Yeah, when we were talking about our barriers to entry for board gaming, one of the things that we talked about was one of the biggest barriers is people learning the rules. Because new people, especially people coming over from video games, you always it's pretty simple to get into a video game because it just tells you what to do or just throws you straight into it. With a board game, if you're buying a board game off the shelf, if you go to Barnes and Noble and pick up some random board game oh, this is Dead of Winter, let me see what this is, you have pages of rules that you have to go through. So one of the cool things about what you're doing on Twitch is you're saying, hey, this is, let me, just like I would if I invited someone to my game night, I can walk them through how to actually play the game. And that's how most people actually like to learn how to play, is have someone else learn the rules, and then you can watch, and they can teach you and know exactly how everything goes.
Allow me to be your board gaming concierge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of the games that even Matt's played on Tabletop Simulator. It's because he's come over here and learned how to play it at my house, and then he goes and finds that game on Tabletop Simulator and then tries to play it with his friends, which is actually pretty awesome.
That's the goal. I mean, no matter virtual or real, physical games, it's creating new ambassadors for gaming. Really, that's what we're doing. Just find that one. You don't need to like every game. Just find that one that really tugs at your heart. And honestly, that's how a driven sales after that game of Pandemic, oh wow, you get 100 custom dice, and it's so easy to put up. And it takes half the time of Pandemic, and I can easily set it up and put it down. That's fantastic, great. Boom, sold. Or Legendary Encounters. It felt like I was actually playing through the Legendary movie. I hate you. I bought this because of you. That's the words I love to hear and have heard too.
Yeah, that was the first time I played Dead of Winter. I was like, man, this game is a ton of fun. And then they started talking about Plaidhead's going to come out with a Crossroads game that's set in space, and I love space games. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
that's exciting.
I'll buy that. I will definitely buy that. And it's I don't even own any board games, but I'll buy that.
There's actually an expansion coming out for Dead of Winter soon.
Uh-oh.
More betrayal. Are they going to add a second one of those dice that just kills you every time you roll it?
Oh my gosh. Very first time I ever played the game, that was my very first roll.
Nice.
Nice.
So, I think they're adding more locations and characters.
But did it spread? That's the real question. Did it spread?
No, because I was going where no one else had gone before.
Nice.
Wyoming?
Shots fired.
Awesome.
So...
Well, let's see. We've covered a whole lot of the questions that I had.
We got a few more, I think.
Yeah. So,
I've got a question.
How hard is it to actually Okay, go ahead, Rob.
Rob, shoot.
Okay, so I don't have Tabletop Simulator. The idea sounds fantastic, and the way that you just described it sounds great. Play before you buy. I mean, a $15 investment to be able to play thousands of board games sounds great. But for me, I love that face-to-face interaction. When I'm playing a board game, I can see when somebody's getting nervous, or I can see when they're too excited. You shouldn't be that excited. And so, how do you overcome that with Tabletop Simulator? How do you get that human element into it, other than just that random group chat? I mean, how does that come to play? Because a lot of games, like for example, Pandemic, you should be nervous when you're playing that game. Everyone should not be comfortable playing that game.
Yes.
And I love seeing everybody do that as a group. And so just to me, that's why I love board games. I love that face-to-face interaction. So help me, because I want to get Tabletop Simulator. I got the $15. I want to get it. But that's the thing that's holding me back is, Dave, I can't see you. I want to see you, Dave.
You can see me right now, and I think that's where Tabletop Simulator is a piece of the whole, right? So like there is integrated voice chat in Tabletop Simulator, and I will be the first to tell you it's awful. Like I need a third-party sound client, and also since I broadcast, it's why I use TeamSpeak, because I can set temporary passwords. Because if someone's going to be a troll, I want to make sure they never come back.
Nice.
Right, but now you're talking like, well, I want to go that next layer further because that's what I need in my personal board gaming experience, and you know what? That's okay. And that's when we need to talk about complementary pieces of technology like Google Hangouts or Skype, like right now, where you got a comfortable group of people. I mean, for instance, like some of my first board games, I actually fired up with another streamer. So I actually did get to see them face to face. I got to know them as a person, and we're like, yeah, let's get together to do this. In fact, I think the first one you would never catch me playing this normally would be Jumanji. Like whoop-de-doo, it's a roll and move. This is not like the movie because I really wish a lion would actually rip my head off right now. But the fact was we did get to see each other, and we had a raucous time, especially when we're like, you know what, let's just keep screwing around because he was starting to get pretty heavy into his beer, and we're like, okay, like he just like all of a sudden popped open Candyland. I'm like, really?
Oh,
And I'm
here
like,
we go.
okay, you know what? No.
Here, let me switch the game.
I challenge you. Yeah, we were like flipping through the tabletops, and we're like, let's do something we wouldn't normally do. I'm like, well, what can we do? I'm like, and I was like, we're just thumbing through the deck because of course it's just a bunch of colors, and that's how you move. I'm like, dude, we can do something no one's ever done before, I think, and at least live. And it's like, what? Let's speed run Candyland. And sure enough, we were just like, no. We're like, yeah. And so sure enough, we just tore through the deck as fast as the cards were flying everywhere, and we were just basically you get to move as fast as you could draw. That was the rule. And sure enough, it was the weirdest things of, okay, 2 blue, orange, damn that gingerbread man, no! I'm like, yeah. That's what it needs to be. And the fact that you could see face-to-face really did add the elements to it. Although, there's some other things that, maybe always having someone at the table might not be a good thing. Like, I know I keep going back to it. And I'm sorry for really shilling it so hard. But Spectre Ops is a great example of, as a spy, you wouldn't see me, and I wouldn't see you. But maybe I would overhear your communications. And so, when that comes up, I know one of my favorite board gaming, actually kind of like this board/role-play memories was, I don't know if you guys ever saw an old board game called Starfleet Battles.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, yeah, the tabletop game where you basically are moving like the representations of the Federation Klingons on the old school series, and you're actually moving around. We turned this into kind of an interactive role-play experience where what we did was that we had the navigators at the table with the actual game, and then we put the various captains for the scenario in different rooms with intercoms back in the day. In the house, and so we would actually have hailing frequencies and all that other stuff to be able to call that in. You can get those same experiences right in Tabletop Simulator. So I think it's a matter of using technology in flexible ways, especially as video technology becomes a lot easier and cheaper to use.
Yeah.
Like years ago, we wouldn't have this.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the
not
quality of
Skype
cameras.
to Skype. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I would say is that, work with your friends and your gaming group and other like-minded gamers, because I know you can't be the only one.
No. But, to wrap up what you're saying is I can make it as expansive as I want, or I can make it as limited as I want. If I want to see people, I can do it. If I don't have to. Okay. So that is good to know.
Long story short, it's perfect.
Another thing I would say is I don't think Tabletop Simulator should replace playing tables around or playing around the table with your friends and family. But there's a lot of situations where you just can't do that. You have friends that live across the country and you'd never get to play games with them at an actual table because jobs don't allow for that thing. Tabletop Simulator gives you a good opportunity to actually be able to be face-to-face, moving pieces around and playing all the board games you love that you would normally play with your home gaming group, but you can play with someone on the other side of the world, which is completely crazy. So
Like that's the
Yeah.
entire reason that I bought it. I play with 3 people from Colorado, 2 people from Texas, a guy from New York. I've played occasionally with a dude from Hawaii, and it's just like, I'm clearly not going to be going to any of these places and like taking board games with me or hoping that they have board games when they get there. I might visit, but it's like I'm not going to buy Battlestar Galactica just for
There
like
are
that
no
1 week
board
trip.
games in Texas.
I'm not gonna like invest the $40 or $50 or something like that to do that, but Tabletop Simulator has that kind of ease of use, and especially now where they're coming out of the alpha and they have set it up to where the companies can actually go in and program their games in their own modules and stuff and sell it as DLC. That to me is something that is incredibly interesting, because it's going to be, I guess, interesting to see what companies pick up and say, yeah, let's do this, let's try this, let's see how it goes, or companies that go, nah, we're not going to do that. Board games are about that tactile like IRL experience at a table with some friends.
Is it
Right.
cross-platform? Can a Mac guy play with a PC guy?
As far as I know,
Offhand, I am
think
not
so.
sure.
I
but
haven't
I will
heard
check
anything
for you.
yeah. Yeah.
Because my
I have to
dad
look
lives
into
in
that.
Korea, and he and I like board games. He's horrible at it. If I'm having a bad day, I like to beat him at things, and so we play Command and Conquer a lot. But he's got a Mac now, and so like we can't necessarily play Command and Conquer. I have my PC, and so online it doesn't converse. But he's
So
big into
it will
games as well.
it will run on Windows XP and up and Mac OS X, or Linux and the Steam OS. So
I haven't heard of any issues talking cross-platform. The connectivity, I haven't heard a thing about it not working. So don't quote me on that. We'll do some extra little bit of research for you and see if we can get a note up there or something. But
So
that's a fantastic
Saintrix
question.
said it works perfectly. Quote
Exactly.
him
You
on
can
any
absolutely quote on
issues.
everything I say because it's fact
Got
and
it.
law.
nice.
there you
That's
go.
right.
So I think we got a question in chat, Roy.
Yeah, so the analoger says, have you seen or heard of any board game designers that use Tabletop Simulator?
Absolutely. So I actually have a number of them that have. So first off, I started my experience with a Kickstarter effort for Neon Sanctum, and unfortunately, they did miss their mark by really, I think only like 1,000. They their goal was like 15,000. They were short by like 1,200. It was soul crushing, honestly. It was a card-based RPG system with combat not unlike XCOM. So it was pretty interesting. It was a solid game, and they were actually filming on Twitch. And they basically turned their print and play demo into a tabletop simulator mod. I'm like, that's genius. And so I actually got to play a demo game with those guys. They were filming some demo footage to put up onto their Kickstarter page, and they got me right into the game. I'm like, yeah, I would play this. I would help, probably help fund this too. So there is that. There's also some homebrew people that have had made their own personal board game over the years and have been tweaking it every now and then. And sure enough, they're hopping into Tabletop Simulator. In fact, one of them is on the list right now, Abduction, which is just a silly take that roll and move game. And normally I would not put beta games and stuff like that on there, but they have play tested it extensively and got me in a number of times and got feedback and redesigned the board and everything. And the cool thing is they can easily do that compared to actually printing out the board, spending all that money on ink. And speaking of spending money on ink, Castlevania the board game. So I have had the awesome opportunity to play with the designer of this game, and it's a role. Think Talisman, but you're not running in circles. And it's a co-op, funny enough, but with a possible hidden traitor. One of you might become Dracula. So it's really good. It feels like a dungeon crawl because you're worming your way through Dracula's castle, taking out stuff just like the video game. And all along, they have actually a whopping 13 characters all throughout the Castlevania lore. And you're tearing through the castle doing all of this with just beautiful components. Basically, took the print and play. This is actually a real print and play board game. The designer did this, spent hundreds of dollars in ink to actually make this a real thing.
I remember seeing pictures of the real game and people getting all excited about it.
And it's in Tabletop Simulator perfectly.
Nice.
And so now, we got to do the game together. We might need to do some tweaks for the Tabletop Simulator version. The reason is there is a little amount of over. So one of the criticisms is that while certain actions can be a lot faster, give me a big deck to shuffle, and there's no way it's happening. I'm sorry. It's going to be 52 or 175 card pickup. But say like you quickly grab the dice and roll them, not as easy. Like I would never play Escape on Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah.
Because just there's a little overhead. You have to box select the dice, then you have to shake them up, roll them, then let them actually resolve through the physics engine.
And by the time that's happened, the first gong has gone off, and you got to get back to the middle.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it's not that awful, but it does add up, especially with longer games. So like Talisman, where you're doing so many rolls, right? All those little few seconds that you're burning add up over time. So yes, it is not perfect for every game, but then it does make other games easier. I think it's all a wash in the end. So yes, and also the example from before about Super Fight being paid DLC. Absolutely, board game designers are using it. Board game developers are using it, and actual board game publishers are now using it too.
I feel like if you're actually trying to design your own board game, it might be a great way to like get stuff on like. Because I've designed, like tinkered around with making different games, and I have to print out the things and make sure it works, or just use like little cards. Like if you just do it on the computer and throw it into Tabletop Simulator, you can mess around with it yourself and then have like some friends to play test it, and you don't have to throw it up on the workshop, but you can have it and distribute the files to different play testers so they can just jump in the game with you. Actually, you don't even have to you don't have to distribute the files. You can just have them join. So
yeah.
That's even better.
Yeah, but the devil's advocate to that, could that be scary that if you really do have that great idea, somebody could then take it and copyright it, or try to do something, something bad.
That's a thing that people bring up all the time in board game design, and what most like big designers say is that making a board game is so much work that it's really hard for someone to steal your design, because they're going to have to do all the things that you would have to do, like do all the play testing and all the like developing and then print it all out. Like, are they going to go through all of that when they could just make something different,
Yeah.
And you can make modules friends only. So I do know of a few personal modules
that can do that. Okay.
Absolutely, and no, that's a really good concern. And yes, you can make it private, so you can limit the distribution on that. Although if people get the files or a save out there, yes, you're at risk. But honestly, for most people, because the cost of actually getting through, and honestly, you would never self-publish if you can help it, because that's ridiculous. You never go into publishing unless you intend to publish. I think Tom Vassell once said, and honestly, he's right. He's absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
But it would be a great way to, if you don't have a huge playtest group yourself, or you just want to have a bigger group of playtesters or playtesters across the world, you could have people playtest it anywhere. So that would be great.
Well, the
thing is,
so go ahead.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, not only do you have to you don't even have to play with people to get that instant feedback. If you were to just throw it up on the workshop after it's been polished a little bit, you can get feedback in the terms of the people commenting on the workshop page itself saying, hey man, I think you should tweak this, look at that, something like that. And then that could help give you a bit more feedback so that you're not necessarily distributing it all over the place to do playtests. It's just kind of relatively straightforward and simple.
But hopefully
think about it. We took the worst half of print and play away. You don't have to print. You don't have to create anything. Just play.
All the games, I've never published a game or never actually distributed a game whatsoever, but I've made several little games here and there, and the amount of cutting and my hand getting sore from the scissors and the slicer and sleeving all the cards, it's ridiculous the amount of work you have to do. It could cut out a lot.
Right, and for prototyping, oh my gosh, it's great. So, the Castlevania board game, for instance, I'm when it initially got put up there were colored poker chips for Poison and Curse. I'm no, we can do better. So what I did was there was some generic, basically you can actually physically model tokens, and so there were wood tokens in the shape of teardrops. Turn them green, you got a poison token. What about those five coin crescents from Lords of Waterdeep? Turn it black, it's a C, it's a curse token. For prototypers, you can actually take the best bits and bobs from different games for your prototype and get it right in there without having to invest in money and grab dice for $4 from an online retailer or anything like that. You can make a prototype quick and on the spot.
Yeah. How hard is it to make any of those changes to the game?
Not terribly hard, and they're making it easier every day. So if you're
really good at solitaire, and I'm great at golf on my phone, but I'm not necessarily, I'm not a programmer. It was a good thing I got on Skype. Okay.
If you can use Microsoft Paint, I think you might be just okay enough to put up a card game. So what they have is like a template where if you actually put in the cards, basically it takes sheets and sheets. So when it's saying it's loading mod and you see all those numbers tick over it, not only is it actually loading the physical models, but sheets of cards too. And so you can actually put a number of cards on one sheet, I think like 39, 40 of them at a time. And then for every sheet that comes there, there is a little RAM overhead because it's loading all that into memory. But long story short, yeah, you can easily like get the cards there. Doing stuff like physical modeling, yeah, that takes a little more. But again, you can just take a bob from something else if you really want to. Just give credit to them, and that's that.
And I mean, for prototypes, that's what most people do anyway who are designing. They have a whole bunch of bits from all these other games, and they steal them and put them into their game until they get something more solid.
Yeah,
exactly.
And even if you weren't necessarily designing a game or anything like that, and you needed just a little bit of something else to make the game that you have run better, I mean, you can add all of these parts and pieces without even interfering with the game flow at all. Like, it takes, like, literally seconds. So I know when we play Battlestar Galactica, we like to have extra bags laying around that we can put stuff into. And so we just make extra bags that we just throw all the coins or the junk or whatever happens to be laying around in these bags. Or we can start changing tokens and stuff to be different colors, and that takes like 5 seconds, and it helps easily, like more easily and clearly identify things. Like, I know the other day we were playing a game of Betrayal at House on the Hill, and the in-game scenario we had these different plants, and so the plant had a base, and then it had like a little vine that went out and grabbed people and pulled them back to the base. And so they were like, oh, how do we keep up with what base corresponds to what plant? So in real life, you just have to keep that up. But in Tabletop Simulator, you can just go in and go, oh, that one's pink, that one's pink, that one's purple, that one's purple, that one's blue, that one's blue. And then it just kind of is like, cool, okay. And you're not like dragging out a Sharpie and like messing up any of your little figures or whatever. You're just kind of doing it on the fly.
Or changing a board. One of the most recent patches, like for instance, I did Power Grid on my stream, and I'm like, oh, well, there's Germany, it's cool, but people know the United States, so all I had to do was right-click on the board, get an appropriate scan of the board that I had, and sure enough, boom, I got US.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're putting lots of usability tools to make it easier and easier for you to mod your games too. And, nothing's funnier than having Spartacus and then having, instead of gladiator tokens, you can actually have living, moving creatures from the RPG bank that they have. There is a limited amount of assets that are actually pre-rendered in the game for you. And so, yes, you can take a king from a chess set, or you can actually have a role-playing figure that's animated and will actually fall over dead if you press the 1 key.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's cute. It's a little thing.
So, how can Tabletop Simulator bridge the gap in between board gamers and video gamers?
I think we touched on it through the podcast today, but you got elements like try before you buy. You know, like one of the big things that people are talking about is demos. Like, I don't know what these games are. I need to try them. I don't want to spend dozens of dollars on a game and not knowing what it is. And although people are willing to throw it away now because of DLC and all this launch stuff, and which is a darn shame. But really, if we get back to it, the roots of like, no, a good game will survive on its own. It just needs people to play it and know about it. It's education, and that's going to be the big thing. Lowering the cost barrier to entry to try, and then it'll encourage people to buy. I think that's going to be the big thing. They don't know how awesome board games are, and we're the ones to show them.
I'm finding that more and more. Like, I always target people to join my board game group, and I just get it from talking to people. Like, if they're a person that's all about like video games and different things like that, I'm like, hey, have you heard of these board games and different things like that, and try to actually show them what it's about, because they might not know about modern board games. So it's really cool.
It's a tool. Like anything else, it's as good as the person using the tool and how we leverage it. And so, we're taking a couple different ends here. You're actually showing the actual, a real live group and personal interactions in Epic Gaming Night, and, showing them like, no, this is a real thing, and these are how it actually physically plays out. And you know what? You should get your friends together too, and this is how we do things. You get a rule snafu, this is how we work through it. Why? Because we're friends, and we're all good people wanting to have a good time with board games. On my end, I'm doing it from a virtual standpoint and just reaching out and yanking them in. And it's just like, okay, it's just two whole separate groups showing two different things. Like, as soon as they see that, like, yeah, I kind of like it. Maybe I want to know more about it. Can I try this? Yes. And so we're serving, like, two different groups. I think, I'm not saying that we're the sole bridge, but you know what? Like one of the questions there is there a playtest community, for instance? Well, I think all of these communities are in its infancy. I mean, Tabletop Simulator is actually still officially early release candidate right now. It's not actually released. And so we're, just the ground floor of this, and it's just about what we were doing together, too, how we ran into each other's channels. They're like, oh, there's board gaming. Oh, and they're not being a jerk about it. But they're having a community that I want to be a part of.
Nice.
I like seeing you guys. I see you guys play. I'm like, I want more of this. I will follow. Like, oh, Dave's actually explaining a game and not yelling and berating people about it. Okay, I want more of that. I will follow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, is there anything else we want to say about Tabletop Simulator, or do we want to end the topic?
Well, so just to follow up, I know we've hit on the price point of being $15, and I know a lot of the people here probably that's like, oh, okay, $15, whatever. And some people might be like, $15. And if that's one of your things where it's marginally cost prohibitive for something you don't necessarily know if you're going to enjoy, I would say Steam sales are always really, really good. So I think I bought probably 8 copies of the game for like $40. Like it was like $5 or $6 a piece on Steam sale. So it's like it's far more manageable, and so it's very easy to just I would say make a $5 purchase as compared to a $15 purchase if, for instance, you have some sort of barrier to entry around cost. And that's another thing too, is you can play all these board games for just that $5 to $15 entry fee, as opposed to going out and buying the physical board game for $45 or $60 or however much it might be.
If you're mulling over a $15 purchase, at that point, it's kind of like why some streamers actually set a $5 cap on their donations. It's just like, if you can't even afford that much, then don't. Because, if you can't really afford it, that's okay. Just wait. Maybe one day you will afford it, and it will be worth that much to you. Really value that and the time that you'll spend on it. Again, like I said, I have 400 hours. Matt has, 50 plus for the, what? How many bucks did you spend again? Like 7, 5?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, it was like,
yeah.
And like I always like to put like $1 per hour investment based on what I buy.
Yes.
So it's like if I can hit that, I'm good. And it's like I've hit that for the multiple copies of the games that I bought and given out to people. So it's like, okay, cool, that works for me. And I don't know.
No, that's a fantastic perspective. Also, honestly, one I adopt too.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool, guys. All right. Well, I guess we're running out of time a little bit, but I guess we'll go ahead and get to our question this week. Jaker Morrow said on Instagram, he asked us, what board gaming cons are you going to this year, or what game cons would you like to go to? Rob, do you want to start us off?
Yes, I will. I know Roy and myself and a couple other friends of mine, we're going to be going to Gen Con this year. It is the largest board gaming convention in the United States. Last year, total door count was 186,000 people. Now, granted, that's averaging, I think it averages a little over 50-something plus thousand a day, because it's open. Now, Sunday's not nearly as big. Saturday's the real big day. Sunday's the big family day. I mean, Sunday's the family day. Saturday is the huge day. We probably have close to 75 to 80,000 people in there on Saturday. I love it. It's amazing. I'm definitely going to that one, and I think there's also a Mace Con.
Yeah, I've been to MaceCon like a few different times. It's like a small North Carolina convention that's normally like in Charlotte. But yeah, it's not huge or anything, but it's cool because it's all about tabletop gaming. So that's the biggest one I've ever been to. So going to Gen Con is just going to be eye-opening,
It's going to blow your mind. It is going to blow your mind. And I will say that the big thing about Gen Con is it's fantastic. You're going to be able to demo games. But if you go to Gen Con expecting to play a lot of games at the convention, it's going to be a letdown, because at the convention there's a lot of booths. You're going to be able to meet a lot of publishers, be able to meet a lot of the people that created the game, and you'll be able to demo their game. But a lot of the games that are being played are like happening in the hotels or that are surrounding the convention, or some of the companies, for example, Yellow last year rented this whole room, and you could go in this room and demo any of the Yellow games, and that's great. I'm just letting you know, if you go to Gen Con, as you're walking around, don't expect to just sit down and just play Twilight Imperium 3. Oh, let's all get together. It's not that type. They do have a library. You can go in there and do that, but it's kind of separate. Even though it's part of the convention, it's separate. They do allow animals and pets and small children.
Good segue.
Well done.
But the
Broadcast
the
professional
con
here.
itself is absolutely amazing. It's definitely worth experiencing. You get to meet a lot of crazy, fun people, and you will play more. I'm not trying to say you're not going to play games. In fact, I bought Cash and Guns last year on the spot because I demoed it at Gen Con, and it was just so much fun. You demo it, you turn around, and I bought it, which sounds like that's a great segue for TTS. You know, you can demo it if you like it, you go out and buy it. But Gen Con, that's what I'm going to, and then Mace Con, I'm going to try to go to that one. And then I like to call Roy Con. We're going to try to convince Roy to get his wife out of the house for a weekend, and we're going to do Roy Con.
Oh man,
So,
do I have to fly out for that?
We've done that before. We had like a 3-day weekend one year, and it was pretty ridiculous. We just played board games all like 3 days, like straight, basically, which is draining. But yeah, I'm really excited about Gen Con 2. I'm gonna use it more as like a way to like network with people and meet these cool podcasters that I see on the internet and stuff like that, and go to like different seminars and stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited about that. What about you, Matt? Have you thought about any gaming conventions?
I mean, I might tag along with you guys for one of these things. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
You're more the in front of the computer kind of guy.
Yeah, I am definitely. I mean, one thing that I could say that I'm going to. It's not necessarily a con, but I'm going to go on the Jonathan Colton cruise that they're doing next year. And like the thing about it is like they have a game room on the boat that is just 24 hours of board games for the whole
sounds
trip.
crazy.
So it's like there's just going to be people there constantly playing and doing all sorts of stuff. So it's just like a giant nerd boat full of people who do all sorts of weird stuff. And I know Steve Jackson is going to be there, and he's like sponsors like the whole gaming thing. So there's probably going to be just a bunch of shenanigans and all sorts of stuff there. So it should be pretty fun.
Be sure never to mention about anything related to Tabletop Simulator to the poor guy. Steve Jackson Games is notorious in general for vigorously defending their intellectual property on the net. You would think by now that there would be some sort of digital game for it, but no, despite over the years people outcrying, besides trying on Vassal and other gaming platforms, he stomped it out wherever it is, and sure enough, they do a regular purge on the Steam Workshop for their games. And hey, again, more power to them. I wish you had a digital version and we can stomp our friends and yell at them over the net so they don't punch me in the face, but
Yeah.
no, that's really, really cool. It sounds like an awesome cruise.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Awesome. And you did go to Mace West, even though it was just a 1-day convention thing, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
What about you, David?
No cons in the near future for me. I've been just working my butt off in the accounting world, and also
I know how that is.
kind of starting up the stream. There's like never enough time. Like, you know, like I started with the spreadsheet, and I'm like, I feel so bad that I haven't gone back to it. I got to 149 games, and I've stopped, even though I hawk it everywhere. And it's just like, but no, ever since I started streaming, just back at basically I started in the first week of April. That's only how long it's been, and get tons of people pouring in, just loving, being drawn into the world of board games, and gosh, I love them for it, and it's like a drug.
Yeah.
So we'll do not cons over here.
Nice.
Not cons.
Yeah, they're always
Like,
doing those on Twitter.
You couldn't afford Gen Con, that's why you go to Zane Con.
Jin can't.
Gen can't, exactly.
It's one of those like you hit like 400 followers and you're like, all right guys, 24-hour stream of just sheer madness, and then
Oh god.
and then you kind of die inside a little bit, and you get over that and you move on.
All right, guys. Well, I guess that's been a podcast. So thanks for everybody who came out to see the show. Make sure to check us out on all of our different social medias, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure to review us on iTunes because that helps us get more subscribers to the podcast. Yep. And make sure to check out our live streams on Twitch, which are Tuesday for the podcast at 9 p.m. and then Friday 6 to 9 p.m. And that's www.twitch.tv/Epic Gaming Night. And David,
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time. David, where can they find you?
They can find me at twitch.tv as well, /Zaintrix, XAINTRIX. I put a link in the chat. Please feel free to follow. Because of monthly reporting and that kind of thing, I don't have as regular a schedule, but often you can find me. There's some weeks I actually stream every single day. Other times it's usually like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It varies a little bit, but as long as you're following and also follow me on Twitter, same name all over the place. Add me on Steam if you want to get on the Tabletop Simulator fun as well. I like getting my viewers into the games. I don't stick to a hard small cadre of friends. I want you in the game.
Great.
And also make sure to check out www.analoggamer.com. They have a bunch of board gaming t-shirts over there. We worked with them to make a 4X t-shirt for like our live stream and just to show like how much we love 4X games. So make sure to check that out on their website. They have a bunch of like Dice Tower shirts and other things like that. So I'm sure you'll like that a lot too. But anyway, make sure to check us back next week and tune into the podcast. I guess that's pretty much it, guys.
Take care.
Okie doke. Thanks a lot.
I miss you already.
Have a good one.
Have me back someday.
Hey, it really was a pleasure, Dave. Seriously, it really was.
It's
you
been
did a great job.
Yeah.
See you guys.